The Yale Center for Dyslexia and Creativity has an important announcement from their co-directors Bennett Shayowitz and Shally Shayowitz. For those who care about and are touched by dyslexia, there's reason to celebrate. We are on our way. This talks about a game-changing Senate Resolution 275 that provides resounding positive answer to dreams expressed in congressional testimony last September 2014 by bringing together 21st century science and education and representing a major step forward in closing the action gap in translating scientific progress in dyslexia into policy and practice. A win for every child who is dyslexic, for his or her parents and community, and for our entire nation, says the proclamation. The intent of this project is to dive deeply into scholarly research in the understanding, remediation, and effective coping mechanisms in the learning disability construct of dyslexia, to use information learned from research to better meet the needs of the students with dyslexia that I work with, and to learn to use this camtasia screencasting software to help me become a better teacher, use the software that is provided to me by my school, which is the Innovation Academy at the University of Texas at Tyler. Dr. Sally Shayowitz wrote the book Overcoming Dyslexia in 2003. Dr. Shayowitz and her colleagues performed functional MRIs on dyslexic and non-dyslexic subjects. These MRIs scientifically validate the presence of dyslexia in the brain. Human beings were never born to read, writes Tufts University cognitive neuroscientist and child development expert Marianne Wolf. Reading is a human invention that reflects how the brain rearranges itself to learn something new. Wolf chronicles the journey of the reading brain over the past 5,000 years. She tells us that the brain of the Sumerians was a very different brain from the one that is immersed in today's technology-driven literacy. This changed reading brain could have profound implications for every child and for the intellectual development of our species. This is a brilliant and eye-opening and intriguing, fascinating book. Philip Schultz won the Pulitzer Prize for Poetry in 2008. Even though he won this wonderful prize, he could never shake the feeling of being exiled to the dummy class in school, where he was largely ignored by his teachers and peers and not expected to succeed. Years later, when his son was diagnosed with dyslexia, Schultz realized that he suffered from the same condition. The book, The Dyslexic Advantage, by Brock L. Eade and Fernette Eade, was like a breath of fresh air for me. It's very easy to feel burdened, weighed down, depressed, paralyzed, and with all the statistics and prognosis for students and people with learning disabilities. It can leave me feeling helpless and hopeless. I'm especially concerned for these students' effective emotional factors in their lives. Most dyslexics have excruciatingly painful school experiences. This book, The Dyslexic Advantage, puts emphasis on the advantage of the dyslexic brain rather than the well-trod challenges with reading and writing. Another book that gives me a lot of hope, students with dyslexia, is the Dyslexia Empowerment Plan by Ben Foss. It's a blueprint for renewing your child's confidence and love of learning. Ben Foss graduated with a Doctor of Jurisprudence degree and a business degree. He has a very unique and refreshing ideas about dyslexia. He says that it's like people with dyslexia grew up in the same place in the same country called the Nation of Dyslexia. They have a shared experience and connectedness. Nobody spells well in the Nation of Dyslexia, and there's no good handwriting, but we're great listeners and often good public speakers. He says that everyone in dyslexia carries a passport that allows easy entry into some bordering countries called the nations of dyscalculia, dysgraphia, and ADHD. We're all in the club, he says. It's a broad family of people who experience the non-obvious disabilities housed under the umbrella of specific learning disability. Your child may hold dual citizenship. For example, 40% of people from ADHD are also from dyslexia, although the opposite is not the case. Every one of us, including mainstream readers, live on a spectrum of strengths and weaknesses. Ben Foss says that the good news is there is no cure for dyslexia because there is no disease. Most schools and reading programs designed for the remediation of dyslexia are based on the idea that dyslexia equals brokenness. Their aim is to transform the child into a person who can read without problems. He explains that there are 3 types of reading: eye reading, ear reading, and finger reading. If your child was blind, providing text as audiobooks or Braille would allow her to read with her ears or with her fingers, and no one would ever claim that a blind person was lazy or stupid for not reading text with her eyes. When I listen to audio, says Foss, that's ear reading. It's not what the mainstream conceives of as reading, but it's ear reading, it's learning, it's literacy. Many people think that eye reading is the only form of reading. You can help, and we can all help, move this limited assumption by using the terms eye reading, ear reading, and finger reading. Foss hopes to help children and people who have dyslexia to not have the debilitating shame of not learning to eye read that so many dyslexics experience in their lives. Carol Dweck is a renowned Stanford University psychologist who, in decades of research on achievement and success, has a simple idea that makes all the difference. She explains that in a fixed mindset, people believe their basic qualities, like their intelligence or talent, are simply fixed traits. They believe that talent alone creates success without effort, but they're wrong. In a growth mindset, people believe that their most basic abilities can be developed through dedication and hard work. Brains and talent are just a starting point. This view creates a love of learning and a resilience that is essential for great accomplishment. Virtually all great people have had these qualities. Our school has used mindset as their focus for this year's professional development, and we are supposed to be helping our children and our students see how helpful a growth mindset with persistence and stretching and striving to learn and continually pressing ourselves and stretching our brain and making new neural pathways will help us to increase our success in school and in life. How do we modify the educational setting to prevent a distinct difference from becoming a profound disability? How do we design educational environments to reduce struggles, capitalize on strengths, and maximize success for people with dyslexia, enabling them to contribute their abilities and talents? We already have answers to these questions, and they benefit not only dyslexic learners but all learners. While there is no cure for dyslexia, efforts to cure it may be misguided anyway, says Gordon F. Sherman. Effective approaches for teaching reading and writing skills to children with dyslexia do exist. These evidence, research-based approaches incorporate several critical components. They deliver a structured language curriculum in a sequential, systematic, and cumulative way, offsetting language, sensory, memory, and motor attention processing differences. More specifically, they provide explicit instruction in phoneme awareness, phonics, reading fluency, vocabulary, and reading comprehension skills. All of these are fundamental to becoming a proficient reader. And all children will benefit from this type of instruction. The Innovation Academy has adopted the Barton Reading and Spelling System. Through listening to the videos that Mrs. Barton provides of this program, I have been learning how to bring this explicit, systematic, and sequential method of reading to my dyslexia students. We do need to assist our students with technology that will help them overcome the gap between their reading level and their curriculum level of the reading assignments that they're assigned every day. Our textbook has an excellent article called Technology Applications for Students with Dyslexia, beginning on page 199 of the Essentials of Dyslexia Assessment and Intervention book. At some point in the process of reading, we must realize that students have to learn compensatory skills and strategies to keep up with the content that reading affords. Age-appropriate reading materials as well as a general curriculum allow students with dyslexia to be equal participants in school-based learning projects. Technology for personal use. There is technology for instructional use and technology that assists learners with disabilities. The rapid rate with which technology is advancing blurs these lines between personal, instructional, and assistive technology. It's a paradox of consideration, says Eddie Byrne, 2000. The multitude of options available is generally unknown to teachers and parents, and how can they make educated suggestions for technology when they're unaware of how this technology can assist with reading? It's important to ask an assistive technology help specialist for help at this point, which is exactly what I did earlier this fall when I invited Jill Beall from Region 7 to come sit down with me and discuss some of the students that I needed assistance figuring out what assistive technology would be helpful for them or what instructional technology that I could help them with. Is the website Learning Ally. This website is provided to students who have reading and print disabilities by the state of Texas, and these students can access free human-read audiobooks that will allow them to keep up with the reading in their classrooms and their on-grade level work when they would not be able to read this otherwise. My students made some videos, and we are sending those to Learning Ally, who will share them with Texas Education Agency. I have learned a lot through compiling this project this semester. This project has had me look back over the panorama of the past 3 years since I was asked to become the dyslexia specialist at our school. And many of these books that I've reviewed are ones that I have purchased on Amazon and read, and also I've been able to ear read these books on Learning Ally for my professional development. This project has also been very helpful because it has forced me to learn to use Camtasia software that our school uses. Thank you very much for your attention and for this opportunity to review some of the deep research in the learning construct of learning disabilities, to show how this research can be useful to me in my teaching of dyslexia. Give me this opportunity to learn to use technology in a more effective way. Thank you for listening.